Hello guys, this is Ty, aka the Flip Man. Will wholesaling houses work in your city? Obviously, if you're in a city or a town where I grew up, where there's less than 1,000 people, then the answer is probably it's going to be difficult. You may be able to do one or two a year. But to answer your question, I'm going to simplify this for you. I'm going to ask you some questions. Do people get divorced in your city? Come on now. The divorce rate is 50%. So obviously the answer is yes. A deal that I did years ago is simply because the lady and her husband got divorced and she acquired the property in the divorce, and she sold me that property cheap because she knew her husband, who cheated on her, there's the reason why they got divorced, who cheated on her, loved that property. She sold it because she didn't care. She didn't have an emotional attachment to it, even though she probably benefited from the income that it produced. But she sold it just out of spite to me cheap. That's just motivation. Divorce is a reason why motivation. Now, another reason from divorce is that the other person just can't afford the property anymore because of loss of income from the other individual in the marriage. Do you have landlords that are tired of being a landlord? And what I mean by that, bad tenants, people that just won't pay, people that will trash their place. They can't afford to repair a property where a tenant has just moved out, tired of fixing clogged toilets. Though that creates motivation, and it's a great source for leads. I don't care where you are, as landlords, especially for, just Mr. Landlord, not someone that's using a property management company or a realtor to management property, but a guy that just has a normal sign that he bought from Walmart or Home Depot or some of the red and white signs we've all seen that says for rent. That's the guy I'm talking about. Do people lose jobs in your city? Of course they do, which means now I can't afford to even pay my mortgage, the house that they actually live in, or any additional properties which would be considered absentee. They can't afford to pay for those properties or whatever maintenance needed on the properties. Now, before I go to the next reason why, I have a live webinar going on this Thursday. You can register for it at flipmanlive.com. There's going to be limited seating. You need to get there, because what I'm going to do in that webinar, I'm going to explain to you how to use contract A and contract B to get paid. Contract A is with your seller. Contract B is with your actual your cash investor. And I'm going to go through that live on Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So go to flipmanlive.com to sign up for that webinar. Back to the questions. Do people relocate from your market, from your city? Of course they do, which again, that could create motivation on they need to sell a property that they own, either the one that they were living in or the additional property or properties that they owned. Inheritance. One of the best deals I've ever done was where a young man, his uncle left him a property. The property was basically a horde's nest. And even though the nephew was living there, he and his wife wanted to sell because they had no emotional attachment. But the uncle left a ton of equity in the property, and the nephew was willing to sell it dirt cheap. Motivation. Do people die in your city? Dumb question, but I had to ask it. Do people die in your city? Of course they do. Again, we can go back to the inheritance thing where a property is left there because someone died. Or one of the things that I learned when I first got into business from a seasoned investor here locally, that was one of the ways that he found a lot of his deals was simply targeting people looking at the obituary, because you'll have, within the week of an actual funeral, he would send them out a letter, because normally there's someone there that getting their final affairs in order, whoever the person that died, and he'll send it to the address that's listed, or he'll do his research and find out where they live, and he'll send them a letter asking about buying the property, because a lot of times these people don't have any intentions on living there in the house, if obviously there was no one there but that person, and they know they need to liquidate it. Or they may not do it then. They're like, no, we're not into this bad time and blah, blah. But they call you 3 months from now. and maybe even a year from now. You do enough of that, it's a snowball effect. A property just simply needs too many repairs. I'm sure you see those, and I don't care what type of neighborhood, you see a property that's just sitting there vacant because there's a lot of repairs that appears to be needed. Somebody owns that property. That creates motivation because they can't afford or don't want to spend the money to repair the property. Unpaid taxes on a property. That can go back to job loss, that can go back to death, that can go back to relocation, all of that. So you can have a couple of levels of motivation just from one particular property owner. Liens on the property. You just simply have a lien on the property, on a vacant property, where the city, because the neighbors in a particular area, in a particular neighborhood, complain about a property where the grass has grown too high, you get hit with a bill on that. Now, you don't have to pay it up front, but if that property is ever liquidated, the city or county or whoever cutting the grass will have to be paid. So those liens start to accumulate. That could create motivation to sell cheap. People always ask, why would someone sell a house that's worth $100,000 for $30,000? I'm giving you a ton of reasons why. An out-of-town owner, someone that lives out of town, they could have inherited property, could have relocated, it could have been from a divorce, whatever the situation is. They're out of town, have no intent of moving back there. That property used to be an asset to them, but for whatever reason, it is now a problem, and you are the problem solver. That creates motivation, guys. So to answer your question, will wholesaling work in your city? Yes, it will work in your city. It just, you need people. And as long as, and a lot of you have heard me say this, as long as houses are not free in your city, you can wholesale properties in your city because transactions are happening. That's the only thing you need to exist in order to be able to wholesale is transactions. People move. When they move, they're either going to rent a property or either they're going to buy a property. That can create opportunities. Obviously, you're not going to take advantage of all of them, but you don't have to. You only have to take advantage of a small percentage of the transactions going on in your city to make a great living. Again, sign up for the free webinar this Thursday, limited seating. Go to flipmanlive.com, get access, register. Don't forget about my 200 plus videos that are free on YouTube. You can just go there and do a search for flipman.net, or you can actually go to the website flipman.net and access my over 200 videos there on YouTube, free, tell you everything you want to know about wholesaling houses. If you need a one-on-one coach, you can get that. That's not free. It is a paid option. You can go to flipman.net. I hope this video answers this question. I get this a lot. I should have been did this video. I spoke about it on the webinar last week, and I said, let me just do a video on that particular topic. So I hope this helps. Hopefully I'll see you at the webinar. Limited seating. I think it's only a couple hundred spots, so you need to get registered now.